Hi, I'm Ahava Leibtag. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Jeremy Harrison, AVP of Consumer Engagement and Experience at MultiCare, to talk about healthcare patient engagement and content marketing. You've got questions, we've got answers. Let's get into it. Welcome, Jeremy. So good to have you.
Thank you.
Jeremy, I can still remember sitting in that little conference room with you and your team at MultiCare going over personas.
Yeah, that's been a while.
It's been a great relationship for a long time. So thank you for being here. You began your career in journalism.
I did.
Before moving into healthcare digital strategy, how has your background in visual storytelling shaped the way you approach patient and community engagement today?
I spent 16 years working in daily newspapers. Journalism is really about listening, and I think that is the foundation of how I approach what I do is to listen. I want to learn. I want to find that human story that's beneath the surface. I think photo editing as a visual storyteller, we live in a very visual centric world. I think the web is really strong in terms of the opportunities to create visual storytelling, long form stories, short form, like all of it. It's so fun. The number of tools available now to tell stories, and it's really exciting compared to when I started in photojournalism and was developing film in a closet.
Half the people listening to this don't even know what a darkroom is. Okay, so you said something really interesting. You said journalism is about listening. So I agree with you. It is about listening, but it's also about the output, right? How do you take what you've learned and then talk to other people about it? You and I were just having an off-camera conversation about misinformation. What do you think, based on a journalistic background where we weren't allowed to say something unless we could back it up with two sources, where we had to fact check everything up the wazoo, where we had to really consider, is this editorialized or not? How do we just give straight news? How do we report the facts without bringing our own personal opinion into it? How do you think that shapes your approach to healthcare content marketing? Because part of what we do is educational.
I think the gist of it is distilling something really complex and making it clear and emotional and true.
I love that.
One of my editors used to say, if your mother says she loves you, you better find a second source, which you can't take one angle on a thing. And I think that in healthcare marketing, we need to find the sweet spot between what are the customer needs, the consumer needs of needing to know information. What is our business as healthcare providers? And how do we show up in the communities that we serve? And triangulating between those things is, I think, helps us stay very objective. Science and medicine are based in ever evolving objective fact. And objective fact tends to change, actually. And I feel like it's a contradictory statement.
I don't think it is a contradictory statement. I think it's true. We only know what we know up until that point.
It's also doing the best you can with what you have, with what you know about at the time. Later on, as time went by, as we learned more, we got better at things. And you go back another 100 years and we were using leeches until we knew better. There are two sides of it because healthcare is very personal and our storytelling should be too. Even as a large healthcare system, being personal with our stories is a way to connect because healthcare is very personal. It's your physician, your provider,
It's your
and that
body, your
relationship's so
family.
important.
I think what you just said about the provider is really the critical piece. I was talking to a group of people about the COVID vaccine and whether or not they get the booster every fall or spring. And they were talking about how they don't like the fact that the technology is untested. And I'm like, well, it was around for 20 years. But, when people have an idea in their head, it's very hard to get them to see past what they think they know. So I was talking about there's a scale of cost benefit analysis here. You got to vaccinate people against measles because otherwise they're going to die. You're going to have children dying. And the cost benefit analysis and what we've seen over time, we know that the measles is dangerous and we know that vaccinations are very effective. If you want to split vaccinations up, if you and your doctor are good with that, if you feel comfortable with that, great. You don't want to get the COVID booster and you get COVID, chances are you're not going to die. And so if you want to take that risk personally and it's no longer a threat to society, great, go for it. Talk to your doctor about it. Make a decision together. You can't lump all vaccines together. You can't lump all cancers together. It's a spectrum. It's all different. And I think that to me is where healthcare communicators have so much opportunity to really hit that message home of it's personal, it's between you and your doctor, it's between you and your body, but at least be informed by ever evolving fact-based science.
Personal conviction and personal responsibility don't have to be contradictory. Informing our communities. I'm a lifelong learner. That's just something that's been a part of my whole life. My dad was an educator, and the value of continuously learning, being infinitely curious, and sharing some of that, because not everybody is. You can share qualified, approved healthcare knowledge, information with your patients, with your communities. And a lot of people are going to see it and not believe it, not accept it. But that doesn't mean that we are not trying. And I think it's really important now than ever to be a strong voice in our communities, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, I think, as a healthcare system is build trust. Trust in our communities, trust in the individuals that we're privileged to serve and be a part of their healthcare journeys. And building trust is, I think, about being truthful and transparent and helping people navigate complex and challenging issues. Anyone with a difficult diagnosis has a big uphill learning curve of information, and we need to be a part of that. Whether it's in social media or it's on our website or we're sending an email, we're supporting people's learning journeys about their own bodies, about their own health, their own decisions that they need to make. And I think that's a really privileged place to be as a communicator, as a marketer. We are connecting people to the healthcare that they need.
I once had a parenting expert say, one of the really important things that you can ask your children when they're talking to you is, do you need to be heard, helped, or hugged?
Wow, that's great.
Right? It's like such a great formula. It's like, do you need me to listen? Do you need me to actually give you advice, or do you need me to just give you emotional support? And I think when you were talking, that's what came to mind for me, is like, we're there for all three of those things, but maybe not all three at the same time. And that's the important part of content and content marketing and strategy, is figuring out how do you meet people where they are at that moment in time. And I think it's really about getting their questions answered and also giving them the hope that we can help them through that struggle. Speaking of being a lifelong learner,
Yeah.
digital marketing in healthcare is constantly evolving at an exhausting rate. SEO, analytics, and social platforms change. What strategies do you use to keep your team agile and ahead of the curve?
As a leader of a digital marketing team, continuous learning is a really big part of that strategy. I've long instituted a 5% time, like every week. Feel free to take 5%, which is really only half an hour, to read a blog, watch a webinar. Our team, if they're just doing, are going to fall behind. There's always stuff to do. So I'm not worried about not achieving our goals or getting our work done. What I am worried about is if the landscape changes and we don't understand it. Thinking about AI search results in Google, all the privacy changes in the last couple of years, and other regulatory things that we need to stay ahead of. Our organization is trusting us to know this. As a leader of a diverse team, the teams that I lead do a lot of different things for this organization. Each of those people is the expert at our organization. If it's digital accessibility, if it's social ads, if it's listings management, that's not me. As I lead these teams, I don't do all those things. And I need these people to each be experts in their fields. And so making sure that they have development through industry webinars and vendor partnerships, different types of internal knowledge sharing. We have a Hive Mind channel and teams where folks post things that they learn and want to share. And I think it's a really sort of generative environment in that way.
One of the things, and this kind of mirrors the conversation that we just had about like science. I was just telling somebody about AI. I said, I can tell you what I thought yesterday and I can tell you what I think today, but I cannot tell you what I'm going to think tomorrow. There's an importance there of the humility of understanding that digital marketing is always changing and educating our executives about that. How often does science guidance change? Okay, not in the last couple of years, but like before then, how often did science guidance really change? A study would come out and they would say, like, I think about the mammogram thing, only twice a year. No, we're still sticking with once a year. And to me, if you're explaining to doctors and scientists, no, our guidance is changing like 24 hours a day, it's hard for them to wrap their hands around that. And I think it's important to come at it with the humility of, this is what we know right now. I also think, and this to me is the most important part of this conversation, is best practices always win. If you're answering people's questions, if you're writing your content according to web writing best guidelines, if you're using structured content, like if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to come out ahead.
That's right.
Okay, so patient expectations for digital experiences, whether on websites, apps, or social media, are higher than ever. How is MultiCare working to meet those expectations?
I think that's a great question. And it's one that I feel a lot of pressure about because consumer digital experiences are getting so good. And you can do everything from your phone while you're rotting in bed and ordering food, flying around the world, making arrangements, buying tickets, doing this and that, managing your entire financial world. Yet when it comes to making an appointment and taking care of yourself, that is a really challenging task.
Yep.
I think it is rooted in the challenges of data at healthcare systems, the lack of interoperability of data between systems. I mean, I don't want to dwell on too many excuses or reasons, but it's challenging.
It's the complex nature of the way doctors also want to approach patient care. In other words, if somebody, their ears are bothering them and they want to make an appointment with an ENT, they go to the ENT, but it turns out like it's not really their ears, it's they have headaches and now they have to go to a neurologist. So the doctor's response is, well, you had this person make an online appointment. They weren't the right person at the right time, at the right location. Now I have to send them to somebody else, and now they're frustrated and we may lose them. So
Yeah.
doctor's argument is not a bad argument either. You know, like how do you know if you're going to the right doctor for the right thing? I also think that people forget the payer part of the problem. Our health insurance and the way we pay for healthcare in this country, it's like mind boggling. Are they bugs or are they features? That's also
Mhm.
part of one of the things we have to grapple with. I hear people whine and complain about this at conferences, like, when is Epic going to release doctor schedules? And when are you going to be able to do online scheduling? Is that going to solve the real problem? Like, what are we really trying to solve for? Here's why we'd love for you to talk to a patient navigator for 3 minutes before we make the appointment so that you don't waste your time. Isn't that a better solution than just allowing people to online schedule and then having a bad experience?
I think, until we can meet in the middle. And what helps us meet in the middle, I think, is probably going to be AI to be able to do it at scale, to be honest, because the scheduling a resource, that's relatively simple. If you have
Right.
10 slots, you put it online, you schedule the 10 slots, easy peasy. I got my haircut the other day, no problem. You got a certain number of appointments, you schedule them. But when there's that complex, incredibly complex algorithm between saying, I need some assistance, and then getting to the right provider, that's where, yeah, you could have a navigator, but how does that scale? I think that's maybe the promise of technology is being able to get the right care pathways in place. Because if you have knee pain, it's not that you need a surgeon. You need someone to help you navigate the cause of that knee pain. Maybe surgery is the right thing for you, but what
Right.
are those right levels? And I think that's part of the real challenge. And so we do need to work on the infrastructure, the interaction, that digital experience. It needs to be better because what we do in the rest of our personal digital lives is really high quality. And there's a tremendous amount of research and money and testing that goes into those digital experiences. And then as a healthcare system, we're like, well, this is what you
They're just
got. And the inventory that you're connecting people to is not just a resource. It is
right.
incredibly complex across so many
Right.
different service lines, specialties.
It's really true.
And then you throw in the payer challenge because for most people, your healthcare bill, you're writing a check on someone else's account and trying to navigate what that means, what you're eligible for, what it's going to cost you.
We
That
make
big
it very
part is it.
complicated.
Yeah.
I always think about the fact that if you have a sore throat and you just turn out to have a cold or strep, it's so easy to get that taken care of. And if God forbid you have like a life-threatening illness, they take you and they navigate you through it. It's everybody in the middle that cannot get
Mhm.
an answer. Knee pain is the perfect example. I had bilateral knee pain. Both my knees were hurting me. I looked it up. I've been a medical writer for years. I tried to do some physical therapy, strengthening exercises of my own. Didn't work. Finally, like I gave in, went to an orthopedist, and he's like, you have tight kneecaps. Great. But when PT, she was like, actually, your glutes are weak. And that's really what the problem is. And now I'm in physical therapy for 6 weeks. And it's so much time and it's so much energy, but the promise of getting better is why I keep doing it. And yet, even that short example of that journey is just a perfect example of why online scheduling might not, like, maybe we should start with physical therapists. It's an interesting conundrum. And I think that it's exciting to be a part of it. And it's exciting to try to solve these problems. I agree with you that AI at scale is the answer. I just don't think it's there yet. I don't know how you're feeling about agentic AI, but when I try to, like, even at Capital One, it's like, oh, you need to call the bank for that.
No, I spent 6 weeks trying to get my cable box to work, going through agents and real people.
Jeremy, it was so great to have you. Thank you so much to our viewers for joining in. I hope you got the answer that you needed today. If you have a burning question, put it in the comments or email it to me at ahava.leibtag@ahamediagroup.com. See you next time.